Why don't we go to my parents' house for New Year's? My husband's words were the catalyst for everything. It was also the start of the end. Susan is my name. I am a 35-year-old housewife. My husband Ben and I had the same job and got married. I left the company right after giving birth to our beloved daughter Emily. I visited my husband's parents for the first time when she was 6 years old. "Hey, isn't dinner ready yet?" My mother-in-law's voice echoes. "Mother, yes, almost." I respond while busily working. My mother-in-law lets out a long sigh. "You're a complete slacker. How can you put up with a wife like this, Ben?" "Yeah, other people's wives are more quick with everything, but absolutely not her." What? I thought. Oh my goodness, you're just sitting there watching TV. Right before I opened my mouth to say it to my husband, I heard my mother-in-law's words. "After breakfast, clean up the yard, then clean up the closet, and then the storage outside." It was supposed to be New Year's Day. New Year's is supposed to be the most relaxing day of the year. But why am I busily working like this? My husband doing nothing irritates me so much. I was too worn out to move by the time I finished all the tasks I was told to do. I took a seat in the living room, exhausted. "Who said you can take a break? Make lunch already." My mother-in-law commanded me without hesitation. "I've been working all day," I said, "and I just needed a break." "A wife should be working like a servant. You want to eat for free without having to work? Work." What? My husband lives in the countryside. For better or worse, old customs still exist there. A wife is the one who enters the family. The old way of thinking persists. But no wife was ever made to work like a servant. "Hey, can you help me a little?" No way. My husband responded with a sarcastic tone. At home, my husband does nothing. He does even less at my in-laws, drinking all day. And my husband hasn't moved at all since this morning. "Hey, I'm going grocery shopping." "Yeah, then go." "Hey, help." Supermarkets in the countryside are very far. My husband, who has a driver's license, has been drinking since this morning. Well, I do not have a license. So I had no choice but to walk. It is 30 minutes one way. He frowned when I asked him to at least carry a few things. "Nah, I don't want to." Quick, cold response again. "Do you want me to throw mochi in your face?" I wanted to say. Ha, I'm sure it would be difficult to remove. I see him in front of me as I imagine things like that, while my husband just shows off his beer can. I just had a drink. What's the deal with the robot talk? I am drunk. So what? So I can't go. You just don't want to go. I see, you useless jerk. My mother-in-law yelled at me angrily from behind. "Is the meal ready yet?" Oh, God. I'm so going to get tons of mochi. I'm finally back. The 60-minute walk was extremely hard, and I was carrying bags in both hands on the way back. I felt dizzy when I arrived at my in-laws' house. I put the bags down and sat down at the front door. I let out a sigh. Then I heard this. "Hurry up, you are slow with everything, just like your mother." I'm sorry. I just heard my mother-in-law yell and my daughter apologize. And at this moment, I was the robot that had just used up all of its energy, but now found energy to spare. As if I had forgotten how tired I was, I jumped to my feet and dashed in the direction of the voice. I stomped into the kitchen, stepping on my husband who was still on the floor doing nothing. I heard him groan but didn't care. And this is what I saw. "What are you doing?" My mother-in-law and daughter both looked at me as I yelled, "Mom!" "Oh, you're finally home." My daughter's face lit up when she saw me. I could see tears in her eyes. My mother-in-law sat down like she didn't care. "What are you doing?" I demanded of my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law sneered at my question. My daughter was holding the rice cooker's inner pot in her hand. Why is she holding that? What are you doing, Emily? My daughter explained uncomfortably. Well, Grandma told me to get ready because she was hungry. First, she told me to cook rice. I washed the rice and... she can't even cook rice. Such a useless granddaughter. What are you teaching her? She is just like you. I wonder if she really is my son's daughter. Of course, I could no longer control my anger when she talked about my daughter. She's only 6 years old. I can't believe you're asking her to do that. Of course she knows how to do it, but can't you just do it yourself? How dare you do that to your own grandchild? My mother-in-law's face turned bright red and her voice squeaked. What are you saying? You want to put this old woman to work? What a horrible woman. Look, a wife is a servant, and she's supposed to shut up and work, and the daughter of a servant is also a servant. A servant? Who do you owe your living to? You live off my son's hard work. You are supposed to respect my son and me. Stop complaining and get to work, servant. Yelling, my mother-in-law left the kitchen. She was so fierce that I could not say anything back to her. I didn't have a word to say. I was speechless at how stupid she sounded. Then I heard her and my husband talking. Your wife is useless. She's no better than a servant. Well, when my daughter grows up, she'll be of some use to you. Just have a little more patience. You're having a hard time too at home, right? You can come back if you want. Divorce? That's fine, but I need a servant. Hey, why don't we live together? I'm sick of my current job too. Maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to let her do the work and I can relax and live in the countryside. What did my husband just say? I was horrified by his comment. Oh, that's a good idea. My mother-in-law agreed, and I was just out of my mind. I clenched my fists, but noticed they were quickly covered with warm hands, and I realized, Mom? It was my daughter. I slowly looked at her. She looked up at me with a worried face. I crouched down, meeting her eyes, and slowly spoke to her. Hey, Emily. What, Mommy? Do you like Daddy? Okay, she can't give me an immediate answer. Of course she can't. My husband is indifferent to her growing up. When he comes home from work, he doesn't even talk to my daughter. He sits on the couch and watches TV or he's on his phone. On weekends, he goes out drinking and comes home late. After COVID, he drinks a lot at home. The hangover the next day is a regular occurrence. On holidays, he either stays home doing nothing or goes out with friends. Very few times we went out as a family. I mean, when was the last time we went out together? This family trip to the in-laws is the first trip we had together in years. I am sure my husband doesn't even know which class my daughter is in kindergarten. He doesn't know what she likes and what she doesn't like. He is not interested in what my daughter wants to be in the future. He probably doesn't even know that she'll be in elementary school next year. She can't say she loves her father. Of course she can't. I asked her again, Well then, do you like your grandmother? No. Well, this time it was an immediate answer. I laughed. I thought to myself, well, yeah, if she yells at her like that. Then she said something unexpected. Because she bullies you, Mom. It's New Year's Day and you haven't had a chance to relax at all. She's always telling you to do this and that. Grandma is so cruel. Wow, children are watching things. Well, I guess they can tell when I'm always being ordered around like that. Smiling, I asked her the important thing. Emily, do you want to live with your grandmother? She shook her head. Do you want your father? No. That was a wonderful, immediate answer, and I decided, the next day. I went out with my daughter in the morning. By the time we got back to my in-laws' house, it was dark outside. When I entered the house, my mother-in-law and husband were waiting for me, looking annoyed. They said, You're finally home? What have you been up to? Yeah, some stuff. I avoided my husband's question. Seeing me like that, my mother-in-law said to me, "Ha, young wives these days. I'm hungry, servant. Where's my food and tea?" My mother-in-law acting like commander-in-chief. I silently served them both tea. My husband tried to pick up the teacup, but I quickly snatched it away from him. What? What the hell? My husband was shocked. Then I poured the tea on his head. Whoa, what are you doing? Don't worry, it's already cooled down. That's not the point. Hey, what the heck? Stop. Avoiding my husband's reach, I put the cup down. What the hell are you doing? You are a servant. My mother-in-law had a furious expression. Shut up. I'm not your servant. I yelled back angrily. My mother-in-law tried to stand up and yell at me. I interrupted her. What? A son's wife is not a servant. I'll tell you if you didn't know. I am not a servant. My mother-in-law was unable to say anything back to me, so I continued. She was so shocked she couldn't get a word out of her mouth. I glared at her, and then I moved my face closer to her. Ah! My mother-in-law screamed. I moved my face closer to her. I didn't care. The distance between us was 10 centimeters. Listen to me. There is no system in the world that allows you to use a wife as much as you want. I will protect my family, but I will not be your servant. What? I am your husband's mother. I am your family, so protect me and do as I tell you. Are you crazy? If I was a real servant, I wouldn't be your family. How are you my family when you're just commanding? I calmly replied to my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law's face, which had been pale blue earlier, was now bright red. How dare you talk to me like that? You were talking to me like that too. Why can't I just talk like that to you? I am your mother. Ha! Stop saying stupid things. I had been holding back. So much until now, but I couldn't do it anymore. There is a limit to everything, and the attitude of my mother-in-law and husband finally broke down my wall of patience. And what do you think your grandchild is, a servant? You treat your grandchild as a servant? Stop messing around with me. I moved my face even closer to hers, and her face turned blue again. It was like a traffic light. What a weak woman you are. She had been so bossy, but just one little counterattack makes her like this? So surprised by her weakness, I scoffed and turned away from her. My mother-in-law, still with a blue face, was shaking a little. I turned my attention to the other person. Now, you. Yes? So shameful how he answers like this. I glared at him. What have you been doing while our daughter was being treated like a servant? I was on my phone. And was drinking beer. Drinking beer while your daughter and wife were treated like servants. What a great life you have. I'm sorry. You think you just have to apologize? Ah! I yelled at him with a devilish look on my face, and he screamed pitifully. He ran away and hid behind his mother. What are you doing? My head began to ache. Forget it, just fill this out. What is this? My husband, who had been hiding behind his mother, slowly came out. It was like a turtle and a baby turtle. When he noticed what the paper in my hand was, his face immediately went blank. Divorce papers? What? We are divorcing, so I'll never come here again. At my words, my mother-in-law said, What? My husband also said, What? His mouth dropping open. I shook the paper in front of them. My part is already filled out. I'll submit it to the government office after the New Year's break, so get to it. That paper is a fake. How can you get it when the government office is closed? Well, I'm sorry, you can get divorce papers even on holidays. And you can even download them online. If I want, I can bring it to the office today and they will accept it. When I said this and pushed the divorce papers at him, he shook his head, half crying. No, I don't want this. I don't want a divorce. You don't want me to leave you, huh? No. You'd be glad to have me around to do everything for you? Yes. You don't want a divorce because you're comfortable with me as your servant. Yes, oh no, that's not what I meant. Ha, see? No! Is this deja vu? I think my husband screamed like that when I yelled several minutes ago. Oh well. If he's not writing it down, I'll have to ask an expert to do it for me. I'm getting a divorce, even if you don't sign it. I've already spoken to my parents. Emily. Yes, Mom? Are you ready? Yes, I've packed all my things. As if to answer my call, my daughter came out. She held up her bag in her hand. Hey, are you going somewhere? I looked back at my husband, holding up my own bag too. Good question, we're going back to my parents' house now. Huh? You've got to be kidding. You've got to be kidding me. No, I'm not. This was not a joke? You treating us like servants? We can discuss this through our lawyer. Goodbye. I said what I was going to say. I took my luggage and headed for the front door with Emily. My husband immediately chased after us. Wait a minute, you can't live without me. Hearing those words, I stopped. I turned around slowly, and my husband also stopped. I stared at him. Did you forget? I asked. What do you mean? I used to have a better career than you, and I used to make more money than you. I quit my job when I got pregnant, but even then, I was making more money than you are now. My words made my husband pale. He had been working at the same place, but had he forgotten about it? Very convenient memory. I know I have a blank slate, but I will start working little by little. My parents are willing to help me. We are going to stay at my parents' house for a while. I will go back to work little by little. Even if I don't make as much money as I used to, I'll probably manage. No, I'll make it work. Seeing how determined I was, my husband was already half crying. I'm sorry, I can change. Please don't divorce me. You had so many chances to change your mind, but you were the one who threw them away. It's too late for regrets. Saying this, I put my hand on the front door. Then, wait, my mother-in-law, who had remained silent until then, called out to me. What is it? I turned around, annoyed, and saw my mother-in-law there with a troubled look on her face. My mother-in-law exclaimed, What happens to my meals? I don't care, I yelled, and we left my in-laws' house. Then my daughter and I went to my parents' house. My parents welcomed us with smiles. Well. Rough start to the new year. My mother urged us to warm up by the heater. My daughter was relieved and started peeling tangerines. Yes, sitting by the heater and eating tangerines for the new year. It was such a hectic New Year's. I hope we can spend a relaxing time next year. I promised myself that I would go to the shrine tomorrow to make that wish. After that, my husband kept insisting that he did not want a divorce. The discussion was difficult. But in the end, we managed to reach an agreement, taking into consideration the fact that our daughter was refusing to stay with her father. Of course, child support was paid all at once. There was no way I could trust that man. As a result, the apartment where we originally lived was sold, and Ben, who became my ex-husband, returned to his parents' home. My mother, she doesn't do anything, or rather, she's getting worse than before. One day, my ex-husband called me and whined. He told me that a neighbor had seen me working like a servant, and the fact that we were getting divorced was also known early on through the information network unique to the countryside. As a result, my ex-mother-in-law is being looked at with white eyes by the neighbors. Yeah, of course she is. No matter how rural the area, treating a wife like a servant is wrong. My ex-mother-in-law, who has been staying home because of this, has become extremely violent. She has been using her son as if he were a servant. He was standing up to her, which was leading them to an argument. He was complaining on the phone. I don't care about those things. I was going to hang up after telling him I had received the child support payment. You got what you deserved, I said coldly. I could imagine my husband half crying on the other end of the phone. "Please, can't you help me just a little? I'm Emily's father, and my mother is her grandmother." I smiled at his words, though he couldn't see me, and said, "I just had a drink." "Why are you talking like that?" "I am drunk." "Hey, I can't go." "Hey, I'm sorry. Why would I go help?" I shouted and hung up the phone. I blocked his number. Good fortune comes to those who laugh. For a while after that, I couldn't stop laughing.